Hello students. In this video, let us start with multiplication of a fraction by a fraction. So in the previous video, we completed exercise 2.2. So now it is time to start the next section. Multiplication of a fraction by a fraction. To understand this, we have an example here. Farida had a 9 centimeter long strip of ribbon. She cut the strip into 4 equal parts. How did she do it? Whenever you have a long strip of something and you want to divide it into equal parts, one easy way to do is to fold it and then tear it. So she folded the strip twice. Once she folds it from end to end, it becomes half. Then when she folds it the second time, it becomes 1/4 of the length of the original strip. What fraction of the total length will each part represent? So because it's 1/4 of the length, it is 9 times 1/4. 9 because the original strip was 9 centimeters in length. So each part will be 9/5 centimeters. She took one part and divided it into 2 equal parts by folding the part once. So next what does she do is, she takes this smaller strip that is 9/4 centimeters and then she again divides it into half. What will one of the pieces represent? Now if we want to find the length of the smaller strip, what we should do is, we should find out what is half of 9/4. So we know from the fraction of operator that this is nothing but half into 9/4. We had learned how to multiply fractions by whole numbers, but we don't know how to multiply fractions by fractions. Now let us see how to find the product of two fractions like half into 9/4. To do this, first learn how to find the products like 1/2 into 1/3. First, let us start with proper fractions. Now here is an activity for us to learn how we can multiply this. First of all, how do we find 1/3 of a whole? When we have a whole circle like this, how can we find 1/3 of it? We divide the whole into 3 equal parts. So here we have 1, 2, 3 equal parts. Now each of these 3 parts represents 1/3 of the whole. Next, take one of these 3 parts and shade it as shown in the figure 2.8. So here we have taken one of these parts and we have shaded it grey. Now consider this shaded part. How will you find half of this shaded part? Again, what you want to do is, you want to find half of this. Divide this 1/3 shaded part into 2 equal parts. Now for example, consider that this is a pizza. You have one pizza with you and 3 of you are friends. What you do? You divide it into 3 equal parts and all of you have a part. Now, you have taken your part home, and when you get home, your cousin or your sibling, they ask for half of it. Then, how much of a pizza will each of you eat if you divide this part into half? To find that, what we need to do is, first let's divide the shaded part into half. Next, each of these, it represents half of 1/3. So 1/3 of the pizza is with you and then you have divided that into half. So each of them, it represents half of the initial 1/3. Now, take out one part of these two and name it A. Now, you have one of these parts A. A represents half of 1/3. What fraction is A of the whole? For us to find out what is half of 1/3, let us first find out what this fraction represents of the whole of the circle or of the pizza. Now, for this, divide the remaining 1/3 parts also into 2 equal parts. How can we tell what part of the whole this represents is, you take the 2 other 1/3 and you divide them into half also. So that would look something like this. So this 1/3 you are dividing it into half, and this 1/3 also you're dividing into half. Now, how many parts does this have in total? 6. And what does this represent? It represents 1 in the 6 parts. So, A is equal to 1 by 6 and thus half of 1 by 3 should be equal to 1 by 6. How did we decide that A was 1/6? The whole was divided into 6 and one part was taken. So, you can tell it easily that A is 1 by 6 because we have divided the whole into 6 parts and we have taken 1. Thus, half of 1 by 3 is equal to 1 by 6, which is just the same as multiplying the numerators separately, multiplying the denominators separately, and keeping them as it is in the fraction. Therefore, whenever you're multiplying any two fractions, you have to multiply the numerators and keep it as a new numerator, multiply the denominators and keep the product as the new denominator, and you have the answer. The value of 1 by 3 of 1 by 2 can be found in the similar way. Divide the whole. So what we are doing here is, instead of doing half of 1 by 3, we are doing 1 by 3rd of half. And we have learned that multiplication is commutative. Even in fractions, multiplication is commutative. So the order of the two does not matter. The product is going to be the same. Therefore, half of 1 by 3 is equal to 1 by 3 into half is equal to 1 by 6. Similarly, when we are finding out these, we can do 1 by 3 into 1 by 4 should be equal to 1 by 4 into 1 by 3. How much is this equal to? This is nothing but 1 into 1 by 3 into 4, which is equal to 1 by 12. What about this one? 1 by 2 into 1 by 5? This is nothing but 1 by 10. So this is fairly easy. Just multiply the numerators, multiply the denominators and keep them as the new numerator and denominator respectively. Here we have a try these section. Fill up the boxes. So half into 1 by 7. Half into 1 by 7, multiply the numerators, that should give us 1, and multiply the denominators. Let me just write it this way so it's easier for you to make out. So here we have 1 by 14. Similarly, you can try the others. Whenever you have two blanks, it's just saying you can write the other way around also. So 1 by 5 into 1 by 7 is the same as 1 by 7 into 1 by 5. Now, I encourage all of you to try third one and fourth one on your own. Observe that the fourth one and the second one are the same, and the third one and the first one are the same. Next, we have example 6. Sushant reads 1/3 part of a book in 1 hour. How much part of the book will he read in 1 by 5 hours? So, the given information is the part of the book read by Sushant in 1 hour is equal to 1 by 3. So, the part of the book read by him in 1/5 of the hour is what we should find. So, like we have just found out, whenever there is an off operator, you have to multiply. So, 1 by 5 into 1 by 3. However, this is in mixed format, so let's convert it into improper format. And we have 5 2s are 10 plus 1 11, 11 by 5. 11 by 5 into 1 by 3 is the answer. How do we find out the value of this is? Multiply the numerators, multiply the denominators, you will get 11 by 15. Now, let us find out half of 5 by 3. We know that 5 by 3 is equal to 1 by 3 into 5. So, in this section, what we are concentrating on is we are trying to find the product of a proper and an improper fraction. 5 by 3 is an improper fraction because 5 is greater than 3. So if how we multiply proper fractions is by multiplying the numerators and denominators separately, what would be the way to multiply a proper and improper fractions? Let's find out. So 5 by 3 we can write it as 5 as a whole number and 1 by 3 as the fraction. So it's nothing but 1 by 3 into 5. Therefore, 1 by 2 into 5 by 3 can be written as half into 1 by 3 into 5. This is nothing but 1 by 6 into 5. So there's an into sign here. 1 by 3 into 5. 1 by 6 into 5. 1 by 6 into 5 is just the multiplication of a fraction by a whole number, where you have to multiply the whole number with the numerator. So the answer becomes 5 by 6. So instead of us dividing 5 by 6 into 5 by 3 into 5 and 1 by 3, we could have just multiplied similar to the proper fractions where we multiply the numerators and multiply the denominators as shown here. Next, there's another pictorial representation for us. This is also shown by figures drawn below. Each of these 5 equal shapes are parts of 5 similar circles. Take one of the shape. To obtain this shape, we first divide a circle into 3 equal parts. Further divide each of these 3 equal parts into 2 equal parts. One part out of it is the shape we consider. What will it represent? So let's break this down. What is being done here is this part is being done here. So this part where half into 1 by 3 into 5. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 circles. This represents the into 5 part of it. Next, we have each circle divided into 3 equal parts, and that represents the 1 by 3 part of it. Finally, we have those 3 equal parts divided into half. That represents the half part of it. Therefore, the total shaded portions, they represent 5 into half into 1 by 3, which is equal to 5 out of 6. Similarly, we have other examples here. But in general, we find that when we multiply two fractions, we have to find the product of numerators and we have to keep the denominators after finding the product of the denominators. Up next, value of the products. You have seen that the product of two whole numbers is bigger than each of the two whole numbers. So we know that whenever we are multiplying whole numbers, the product is going to be bigger than either of them. There's an exception to this case, that is when you're multiplying anything by 1, in which case the product is going to be bigger than 1, but it is going to be the same as the number with which you're multiplying. So what I mean is, the example that is given as 3 into 4, what if you do 3 into 1, which is equal to 3? So in this case, the product is the same value as 3, but greater than 1. So the product is bigger or equal to either of the two whole numbers. What happens to the value of the product when we multiply fractions? So now we are trying to find out what happens to the value of the product when we are multiplying two fractions. In case of whole numbers, the product is always greater than or equal to the whole number. Now let us take a look at fractions. Here we have 2 by 3 into 4 by 5. First we are considering only proper fractions. This is equal to 8 by 15. When we try to compare 8 by 15 with 2 by 3 and 4 by 5, how do you do it? You have to make them both to be equal to like fractions. So the way you make 8 by 15 and 2 by 3 as like fractions is, you need to make the denominators similar. In this case, you need to multiply 3 with 5. So 2 by 3, it becomes 10 by 15. So 2 by 3 becomes 10 by 15 and 4 by 5 it becomes 20. It becomes 16 by 15. It becomes 12 by 15. That is because you need to multiply 5 with 3. Therefore, 4 3s are 12. So it becomes 12 by 15. Both of them are greater than the product 8 by 15. Similarly, let us try these. Here we have 1 by 5 into 2 by 7 and the product is 2 by, correct, 35. Do you think it's greater or lesser than these fractions? I encourage you to pause the video and try it on your own. But another easy way to try it is, observe here you have one part in 5 parts. Here you have 2 in 7 parts. Both of them should be greater than if you divide something into 35 parts and take only 2. For example, assume that you have a cake. That cake you're dividing into 5 parts and then you're taking one part. That way you're getting more. Then you have another cake and then 7 of your friends, you and 7 of your friends are together, total 7 people I mean. Then you divide the cake into 7 parts and say you get 2. That is also considerably big. But then take the case when there is the same whole cake and you have to divide it into 35 parts and you only get 2. So that is an intuitive way to think about it, but the result is going to be that the product is less than each of these fractions. This is going to be true for all the proper fractions that you can check. For these two examples, you have to consider what the numerator is. This is going to be 7 because the product is 21. And in this case, the denominator is going to be 5 because the product is 45. All these cases, you will find out that the product is less than either of the fractions that we started with. So in general, you will find that when two proper fractions are multiplied, the product is less than each of the fractions. Or we say that the value of the product of two proper fractions is smaller than each of the two fractions. So this is the exact opposite case of whole numbers. In case of whole numbers, the product was greater than, the value of the product was greater than the two whole numbers. But in this case, the value of the product of two proper fractions is less than either of the two fractions. Now, let us consider improper fractions. Before we move on, you can pause the video, take more examples and check for proper fractions. Now, let's consider improper fractions. In case of improper fractions, here we have 7 by 3 and 5 by 2. Both of them are improper. So just recall, proper fractions means numerator is less than denominator. Improper means numerator is greater than denominator. So the product is equal to 35 by 6 and the value of 35 by 6 is greater than 7 by 3 and 5 by 2. Again, to verify this, you need to convert them into like fractions. So to convert into like fractions, you have to change the denominator to the same. 7 by 3 becomes 14 by 6 and 5 by 2 it becomes 15 by 6. Both of these are less than 35 by 6 because 35 is greater than 14 and 15. Similarly, you can check for all these examples. Fill up the blanks of the numerator and denominator by looking at the product values, but you will find that the product is greater than each of the fractions. We find that the product of two improper fractions is greater than each of the two fractions. Or we can say that the value of the product of two improper fractions is more than each of the two fractions. So in case of improper fractions, it's similar to whole numbers. The value of the product of the two improper fractions is more than each of the two fractions. Construct 5 more examples for yourself and verify the above statement. So you can have more examples of improper fractions and verify that the value is going to be greater than the two fractions that you have considered. Now, let us try what happens when we mix the proper and improper fractions. That is, let us multiply a proper fraction and an improper fraction. So the proper fraction is 2 by 3 and improper fraction is 7 by 5. Here we have the value is equal to 14 by 15 and let us convert them into like fractions. So 2 by 3, it becomes 10 by 15 and 7 by 5, it becomes 21 by 15. So, in this case, 7 by 5 is greater than 14 by 15 because 21 by 15 is greater than 14 by 15. But 2 by 3 is less than 14 by 15 because 10 by 15 is less than 14 by 15. Here, 14 by 15 is less than 7 by 5 and it is greater than 2 by 3. So we can say that the product obtained is less than the improper fraction and greater than the proper fraction involved in multiplication. Similarly, you can check and get the same result for any of the two combination of a proper and improper fraction that you consider. So we have learned what in this section is the value of products depends on what kind of fraction you're considering. For two proper fractions, the product is always less than each of the fractions. For two improper fractions, the product is greater than each of the fractions. For a proper and improper fraction, the product is less than the improper fraction but greater than the proper fraction. Okay, students, this is about multiplication of a fraction by a fraction. In the next video, we will complete exercise 2.3. I will see you all in the next video.